software testers. Move beyond theory and master testing with the AI-powered ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q program. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q equips you with the theoretical skills and practical competence to truly excel. Learn how to apply black box testing like a pro. Estimate accurately, write flawless defect reports, and catch issues early. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q complements your ISTQB certification by turning knowledge into powerful action. Visit our websites and find out more information.
So, hello everyone, welcome back and welcome to this session of the A4Q Testing Summit. Cédric, I have a pleasure to introduce you today. How are you doing?
I am good, thank you very much. And you?
I'm fine as well, thanks for asking. Yeah, we had a really full day today with a lot of presentations. So now we are looking forward to yours. So let me just introduce you real quick. You're a quality and testing expert with more than 15 years of experience. And in your previous role, you worked as a test manager and a quality leader, and you were part of your company's IT governance committee, where you helped drive the transformation towards CI, CD, and shift left practices. And what I think is very interesting, you were also a former ISTQB trainer, an experienced speaker, and a strong advocate for continuous improvement, pragmatic testing, and emphatic leadership. And today, you will speak about beyond standards testing where theory fails. So your session will explore the blind spots of testing standards, the gaps between developer-led and the tester-led testing, and practical ways to adapt testing to real world challenges. So yeah, I think that sounds extremely interesting. So before we dive in, I just want to encourage the viewers to ask questions during the presentation. If anything pops up, just put it in the comment section and we will have time to answer that at the end of the session. And of course, I want to remind you that you can vote for your favorite speaker and your favorite presentation. So if you like what you see, then vote for Cédric. I'm sure he will appreciate that. Yeah, and now, Cédric, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction and for the pressure. Thank you very much.
No pressure.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so as Michael said, I've worked for almost 20 years now in testing. And I don't know about you, but I've experienced a little bit of immature or maybe underskilled quality framework within companies. I don't know if it rings a bell to any of you. Actually, I believe it. I went through 3 different major domains in testing. I worked for finance and insurances companies, but I also worked for government and even for entertainment companies. So I had the chance to compare different world, different products, but always with a little bit of the same limitations. And that's why I want today to speak about these, because I don't believe they are coincidences. And I'd like to try sharing my experience with you today. Sharing experience is always difficult. I will take a metaphor, which is not from me, but I'd like to make a parallel with a toothbrush. I don't know if you see what I mean, but it's very difficult to share a toothbrush. We all have ours and we like to use it and only ours. And I think it goes the same a little bit with the experience. It's very difficult to get it to the others. But nevertheless, I think it's the best way we have, us in our community, to also keep improving and share within the collaboration teams and etc. So this is my little trial today. And of course, if we want to speak about the gaps between the theories and the practical environments, but we first need to speak a little bit about the frameworks themselves. There are a lot of, as Michael said, I was used to train ISTQB, but more than that, there was another one I cherished, is TMMI. It's the Testing Maturity Model Improvement, and there are plenty others. Here are just a few of what exists about theories, about rules, about how to make efficient testing, efficient quality. All of these models are definitely valuable. They are critical. It's the basis of everything. You need to have that in control to actually build something. But is that sufficient? Don't we find some limitations or resistance sometimes, and we need to go forward anyway? So one of the things I think, and that would be maybe a little bit of a warming up today, is let's see what we can definitely do. There are some levers, there are some principles, and one of the big ones is this triangle that I'm sure you've already seen. It's used a lot for project management and for communication with business as well, because all is about scope, cost, and time. And in that scheme, if you change one, you definitely need to impact the others. And where the quality relies is actually in the middle. It's the surface of that triangle. The surface between scope, cost, and time is the quality. And that's what we are the guardian angels of. If we need to keep control of that, we need also to have the levers. I'm not sure about you, but having the chance to play with the scope, the cost of the time, in my position of test coordinator or test manager, or even test engineer, I couldn't. I simply couldn't. But you know, a triangle, it's just a face of a prism. And that's the game of today, is to take that prism and to just flip it over. If you flip it over, you still get a triangle, but a triangle with different notions. And that's what we're going to play today with, is the principles, the process, and the risk. If you have risk control, process control, and or play with your principles, you can influence the quality of the product, the quality even of the processes. And that's the root of our business. I'm pretty sure that we all agree with. So the game today is really that, take that prism, just find another way to look at it and to actually get ideas of. And how we will do that, we will do 5 examples of my personal experience as hints. Okay, it's just basis of discussions. Maybe we can exploit the time we have after the session for exchanging, not only for questions. The first of the 5 I want to show you today is about traceability. Traceability is key. We need to have the link between the requirements, the analysis, the functionalities, the tests, the results, and the defects. That makes sense. For a defect, I need to know what functionality is behind, what are the risks, the importance, and what were the requirements at the start. And this traceability is key. We all agree on that rule. It's important to have it, but is it always better to have it in a beautiful framework with everything is in? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We have different actors. We play with engineers, we play with architects, we play with business, product owners, maybe external clients. And well, let's be frank, they do not have the same vision, the same world vision as us. They do not have the same vocabulary or needs. So is it necessarily the best case to just push for a framework or push for a big tool that collect everything all together? Yes and no. We need the links. That is certainly the rule we need to keep. But the principles are just the links, but not necessarily the whole thing. We can play a little bit with it. If you have a tool that is linked to the framework, let's imagine the company just decide to leave Jira. it happened. I lived it. Or migrate, it's that hard that everything we've made for testing within Jira was not compatible anymore. We need to migrate the whole thing. So we have a dependency. And on the other way around, we do not have the freedom to change maybe the way we do or store the tests because we are linked to that framework. So the first example here, very simple, but stay tuned. We go deeper and deeper with the presentation here. This one is an advice with keep the links, but don't go too far with being locked in a framework. Okay. If you still follow, then we can go a little bit more in details with the second example. In this, I want to speak about mobile first. Wherever I've worked, banks, government, private companies, always mobile first is the motto. It's the motto for years because you cannot be a company without having a presence on the stores, on the mobile applications. Even for banks, it's key to be present with a reliable application. It's a must today. But if you go for mobile first, it doesn't imply that you need to do all your tests on mobile. I hope it sounds obvious, but if you have, let's say, 1,000 test cases, 10,000, 20,000 test cases, and you need to run them all on all the devices, on local or with a scalable system like what happens on the market with remote access, nevertheless, you will end up with hours of tests. And that happened to us a few times, as these tests took more than 8 to 10 hours. There is no way then to actually run them on a daily basis. So it's not a source of information or debugging for the developers. So we needed to make that way quicker. And what we decided to do is, once more, to play with that prism and to play a bit, be smart with the structure. You know, a mobile application can be fully native, but it's pretty rare. In the majority of cases, we have hybrid applications, and these hybrid applications are a native part, but within that, encapsulated, you have some web structure, and the main information, the main functionalities are in that web part. So what we've done is we've identified all the scenarios that are critical for the native part, everything that calls APIs like localization, Bluetooth, whatsoever, and of course also the major scenarios of the critical functionalities, but to reduce the scope to that on mobile apps and to actually run all the rest on the web view and test the web functionalities aside. And actually the risk remained the same. We forgot a little bit the mobile first, the whole on mobile, but by doing so, we actually kept the same quality, the same coverage, but we actually reduced the runtime from 10 hours to an hour and a half. And that is a sustainable target with which the rest of the teams can work with. So here, that's really the idea, is whatever the rules you've been told, and it's not just about theory, it's also sometimes coming from the business, just put some weight, some balance in that and find your way through. A third one, and here I will ask a question that's pretty harder. AI is pretty common as the the modern trend. Everyone is trying to do things with AI and trying to find a way, trying to find the place of AI in our world, and there are a lot of rooms for that. It's awesome, but it's also very early stage, at least for some systems. So you do not have yet any rules to actually tackle the quality, to test that. How do you do it? Well, complicated. In this system that you can see, it's pretty common system of LLMs discussing between expertise. So one is more like compliance, another one is on branding, another one makes sure of the profile. This system can be used and is seen in chat box, and I also seen that for promotion systems, for banks, for example, for a chat box, You can adapt the speed, the speech, the vocabulary, the way of speaking to the client, because one is more like risk investors when the other one is, a quiet dad, just not playing too much with the money. So it's different profiles, so you won't approach them the same way. But still, if you want to have automatic, efficient way of communicating / AI, you need to have that such a big, complex system. But how do you tackle that? Then I will ask you a question. Let's imagine you had a big argument with your boss. And so you're home and you write the email. You write it a long story of all the things that went through, that went away, that were not okay, and all the problems and what you wanted to do, and all the frustrations. I don't know. You write your letter, and then what you do is you have a little moment of wiseness, and you ask your wife or your husband to check that letter, and whatever his skills, whatever what she likes and what she's doing, she will definitely give you some feedbacks anyway, and all these feedbacks will help you getting more confidence in what you've done, well, more correction, so a better quality. For the ones that are still awake, you certainly already guessed. I'm speaking about the 4I principle. To me, this is the most basic principle of testing, and if you keep that in your toolbox, you can get out of a lot of scenarios, a lot of situations. Developer reviewing code, it's already a 4I principle. And here, the complete opposite, the extent of that logic is just build a QC LLM that is already checking the output. It's probably not fully bulletproof, but at least you have a little bit of control, you have a little bit of confidence, you got a little bit of quality, and also monitoring. Because of that output, you know what happens, or actually you are alerted when something goes wrong. So another example, if you're still alive, is the continuous deployment versus compliance. Once more, and I'm pretty sure your context is almost the same, we have regulations, we have legal aspects that we need to take into account, and whatever it is, reinsurance companies for banks, regulators for entertainment companies, or even the clients for some validation. I'm thinking here about European Commission or some government organizations. You have validation steps, and these steps takes time. But you also, on the opposite, need and try to stick to the best practices to get the most value as quick as possible in production. How do you do that? Well, you actually try to make smaller pieces with a lot of value, the quicker possible in production. But that doesn't go along with the step of validation prior productions. So how do you play with that? Well, one of the idea is to get out of that scheme. You have the test, acceptance, production environment. If you have the luck, I think I had, everywhere I went, I had test, acceptance, and production environments. But nevertheless, that will slow your pipe down. If you go for test, you do all the testing. You go for acceptance, then boom, stop. You wait for validation, regulation, audits, whatever. And then only when you get the green light of that gate, then only you can go in production. That's annoying. And you get a latency between what you have developed and what is today in production. So it's even worse also for hot fixing and bugs. It's crazy annoying. Then what we've done, and I've seen it happening in different companies, is to actually make it modules. We all have historical monolith, huge applications that are heavy to maintain and complex, and we need to divide it. But we don't need to divide the whole thing before going into a CI/CD thing. Otherwise, I think nobody will be there. I'm not sure about you, but to me, dividing a monolith into only small modern pieces is more a dream than a reality. And we don't need to reach it, actually. We don't need it. We just need to have the different modules that are critical for the system, for the company, or the pieces that are regulated. And that's what we've done. Whatever it is, like microservices or more like as a service architecture, in all these cases, just focus on these modules that need to be regulated or that need to be critical for your business and that you need some different timings. You start with these ones, and actually you can already make sure it goes okay. On test, you check that the integration is good because the rest is already tested at the team level. So we got even rid of one of the environments. We can live with test prod, full stop. And we have the fluent system that we needed. We go in production with whatever is ready, and the piece that's under verification, validations, that's the white one here, would just stay there. You just need to make sure that the integration with V1 or V2 of that module, with V1 or V2 or the other pieces are viable. That's light. And as soon as you're confident, you can go in production with whatever is ready. And as soon as the white piece is ready too, you put it back too. And there's a fluent CI/CD without having a beautiful, modern, finished, polished architecture. I think I speak a little bit faster when I don't have any public. Anyway, I'm reaching the fifth example. The fifth example is that beautiful pyramid. All of you have learned, whatever the methods, whatever the rules you've been taught, the pyramid is something you've seen. These are the different layers of tests, the different levels, so unit, boundary, system testing, integration, well, from one place to another, for one framework to another, vocabulary might differ, but nevertheless, the logic is always the same. It's having low-level testing, unit testing, component testing. Then you go higher and higher with integration of the systems and the system of systems until you get the acceptance step. Acceptance can also be seen as verification audits, as we've said before. All these layers need to be there. That's true. And they need to be that shaped, because the earlier is the better. It's easier to run these unit tests than waiting and doing manual testing 1 month later. Sure. But is that easy? No, I'm not sure. Immature systems, immature companies are pretty common. And when you usually arrive there, they are quality to control, but they are already all busy with bug fixing, developing. The developers are overwhelmed. They are not trained, interesting, but in any way, they mainly focus on testing and of developing and debugging. So they do not have bandwidth. It's not just about philosophy. So what can you do? Just waiting for them to be trained to get that level? No. Once more, that pyramid is a good target, it's a good rule. But you do not need to hesitate. You can go with overhead. What you certainly have done as a tester, if you've been, is you arrive in a company, there is just nothing, lack of documentation, everybody is busy anyway, and you've been told just to get control on the quality and testing activities. Well, how you do so? Well, you actually take the application, you go through it, and you get to learn it. You get to learn the application by playing with it, and you go deeper and deeper in your knowledge, and therefore in your control, by playing with it. But what I say here, and I've done it several times as well, is don't hesitate to overhead a layer. It's not a big deal if you get way too much functional tests at first, because the coverage is there. So you have control, you have confidence into your system, you know what's okay, what's not. And that control provides bandwidth for everyone, more at ease, to actually adapt and involve. So first of all, you have a lot too much of functional test, if we look at the pyramid at least, but you have the coverage. Then you go and educate people, you go and try to make these low-level testing happening, and then you can archive, you can just get rid of the overhead. That's okay. You can do that afterwards, you can rebalance. Okay? And one more thing with the pyramid, to me there are two rules. There is that pyramid, the spread of activities, but there is also this notion of filters. More often, we see with a lot of modern architectures, with a lot of ideas from all the world to try to go faster and faster, but the filters are still something very important. What I mean is, imagine you need to try to drink rainwater. If you want to filter rainwater, probably some of you are doing so. That's great. You usually use 3 filters to get that done. 3 different layers of tests, 3 different filters. But whatever the quality of one filter, I bet you to drink the water if I remove one of the 3 filters. Would you? I won't. And I've trained that. I was in a government institute. I won't say which one. There were 10 teams. And out of these 10 teams, they went to service architecture as a service architecture with different modules. They were all in control of their own domain. And then they got rid of all functional tests that we've built because anyway, they got all the unit test integration tests that they needed. Except one team. They kept the functional test for a while. And actually what happens, I'll let you imagine, the only one that actually didn't get any critical defects in production is that very team that kept functional testing. It is not about getting rid of a layer. It's about completing the picture. Well, that drives us towards what I would call my conclusion, or at least my invitation of you reacting to that topic, is changes are very often, well, they are constant. Every single company is changing processes, changing products, changing teams. And actually, this is completely normal. There is no company that can compete without adapting. And so we need to do that as well. And that also means that all the rules, all the theory that we've learned, that won't be sufficient. The reality is not the book. So we need to adapt to situations, to people, to team members, to even what quality can mean for a customer. So we need to accept that fact, but we need to build upon that. The rules we were taught are correct and vital, for sure. No debate on ISTQB, TMMI, TMAP. All these systems are undiscussable. They're perfectly useful, but they're not always sufficient. And for an environment that we live in is really foggy. We have sometimes some oppositions. We don't know where to go. We do not have the environments we would like to. So we need to play with what we have at hand. And it's like going through a forest. If you want to go through a forest, you need to first know where you go. And if you want to know where you go, you actually need to have a strong strategy from day one. You need to know where you want to go. And as soon as you have your compass, your vision, then you can go into that forest. And then you will see trees, the rules, the theories that you have learned of being taught, they are along your path as markers. They're useful, definitely, but the best way is not through them, is also a bit around them. So you need to make your path smooth through that forest, keeping your strategy in mind, and be flexible, creative with the way you use the principles behind the theories that we have seen through our career. Voilà. Thank you very much for your attention. I will just end with a quick questions. Do you have any toothbrush to share?
I really like that metaphor because it's very true. Okay, thank you so much for that great presentation. I found it very inspiring and insightful. And I will share that metaphor, I guess, a few times in the future.
Just go.
If I could steal it, then thanks for that. Thank you so much for that presentation. I really liked it. So now we can move over to the Q&A session. So if there are any questions, now is the time to ask them. And we can discuss them together because there's still some time. Okay, there is the first one. So how have you implemented the CI/CD evolution?
Very, very good question. It's a tricky thing. We all try to do that work in different contexts and companies. In my experience, the way we've implemented put five actions actually in accounts. We first had to break the monolith that I was explaining before, but not only. What we've worked a lot on is to also make the parallel with the testing repository. So we had the code and we have the testing code, and we tried to match the structure of both repositories to actually follow the architecture and the needs of deployment. So step by step, we made that happen. We also accelerated automation. That's very key, to find ways to accelerate. And we did that by using gherkins, or actually languages that are shared upon the whole testing community. The analysts started implementing their test in Gherkin already, so it could have been easily, freely put in the framework for automation. And all of these steps that were frictions became fluid, and therefore the whole process went quicker and quicker. And on top of that, we've added a lot of KPIs, and we got rid of one of the non-production environment as well. So test acceptance prod, with just test prod, we gain time. As easy as that.
Okay. Let's see if there are more questions. Okay, how do you think AI can help in quality improvement?
To me, there are two things with AI. First of all, there is AI regarding the rules themselves. You know, the rules of testing, the theories we've learned, we know AI can give them back to every single person asking for it. And I think that's an ally. It's an ally that helps us spreading the quality word around us in a company. This is pretty difficult to do, you know, the lobby. But on the other side, the principles and the creativity of principles that you will play with, that is something that will remain to the human part, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's, and what I found interesting about the presentation is, like, I recently read that the ice cream cone is melting and the pyramid is coming back. And I felt like that was pretty much proved in your presentation.
Indeed. Interesting link.
Okay, so let's see if there are any more questions. At the moment, it doesn't look like it. So I guess we can conclude the session then. Thank you so much for being part of the A4Q Testing Summit.
That's my pleasure. Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you very much all the attendees. Have a good evening and a good day tomorrow as well then.
Yeah, thank you. Before we leave the session, I want to remind everybody again that you can vote for your favorite speaker and your favorite presentation. So you can find a QR code now on the screen. So just scan that QR code and vote for Cédric if you like that presentation. I'm sure he will appreciate that. And there are a few more sessions to come today. We have sessions actually until 9. So the last session will start at 8. So I'm sure there are some more topics that might be interesting to you. So just keep watching. Instead of Netflix, it's just A4Q Testing Summit today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks again, Cédric, for your presentation. I hope we can see you next year. And I'm sure a lot of us will also see you on other conferences. Have a great rest of your evening and see you.
See you. Same to you all. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
software testers. Move beyond theory and master testing with the AI-powered ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q program. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q equips you with the theoretical skills and practical competence to truly excel. Learn how to apply black box testing like a pro. Estimate accurately, write flawless defect reports, and catch issues early. The ISTQB add-on practical tester by A4Q complements your ISTQB certification by turning knowledge into powerful action. Visit our websites and find out more information.